Since the ending of Hermitcraft Season 8, Iskal85 has started his own YouTube series on VaultHunters, and this has spurred a lot of attention to the mod pack, and a lot of people are deciding to try it out for the first time, and that includes me. I am also giving this pack a try. Now, if you're anything like me, when I first started, I had very little idea about the skill points that are shown in the upper right corner of the screen. Iskal's video talks some about it, but what exactly do these skills do? The videos only showcase a few of them, and they're probably the best ones, but it made me think, what do the other ones do? I want to try them out. I would like to see what they do. So that's what this video is going to be all about. I'm going to be creating a tier list for all of the Vault Hunter skills that are available to a brand new player to help you decide which ones are best for you. To do so, I'm going to be getting each skill point and demonstrating it on screen, talking about what I feel its pros and cons are. So here's my tier list. Let's get ready to dive into some of these skills and abilities. Skill points can be used to buy either abilities or talents, and you do this by pressing the H key. On the first page, you see that we have summary, some statistics, a little overview information. The second tab has your abilities, and the third, your talents. The last tab is for researches, and these cannot be attained from a new player and require running vaults to get materials first. So this video is only going to cover talents and abilities that can be attained by the brand new player. Abilities use a key to activate, and that key is G by default. Talents, on the other hand, are usually passive and don't require a special key to activate. Some do, but they aren't the G key and are activated in other ways. Each talent and ability has a number of levels that are indicated by the silvery dots underneath the icon. When you buy a level in that ability or talent, the dot becomes yellow to indicate that it's purchased. Abilities also have specializations that are available later on after you've attained some vault levels. Talents sometimes have dependencies, meaning you can't take this talent until you've taken this talent to a certain degree. Again, I'm not going to focus on anything that cannot be attained by a new player. If you're watching this video, you likely learned about Vault Hunters from Iskal's videos, and you likely already know about a few of the skills. Specifically, Vein Miner is one of the very first ones that he took in his videos. So let's start with that. To learn the ability, you click it and then click the Learn button here. Vein Miner says that it will mine several blocks at once and is used by holding down the ability key while breaking blocks. At level 1, you get 4 blocks mined every time you mine 1. So, by holding G and mining this tree, for instance, we'll get 4 logs created instead of just 1 under the normal circumstances. This is extremely useful for quickly getting started and is a popular favorite among people starting out, including Iskal, as demonstrated by his videos. When using Vein Miner, it will use the durability on your tool as if you had used it to break each block individually. In this case, my wooden axe has 55 durability, and if I use Vein Miner on the tree, now it has 51 durability because it broke 4 blocks. Now I should note that the vein part of Vein Miner means it will only mine the same kinds of blocks as the one that you're targeting. So in this case, I'm only going to be mining stone, even if there are blocks of other types nearby, like this ore. See? Now, where does it rank on the tiers? The top tier is the S. It's the absolute best. Then we have A, B, C, D, and honestly, all of these abilities and talents are really good. So I really doubt there's going to be anything down here at the bottom. But for Vein Miner in particular, while I feel it is a very handy ability to take, I don't feel that it's absolutely essential. I feel like you can do everything that you need to do without it. It's a great convenience factor, but that doesn't make it absolutely essential, and so it doesn't put it into the top tier. Moving on to the next ability, let's take Rampage. Rampage says a player gains a massive damage boost for a short duration of time. And the chart here gives the increase in damage duration and the cooldown associated with it. The cooldown is how often you can do it. So 180 seconds is once every 3 minutes. Also, notice that many of these have a level requirement that's quite high, though you can get 4 at level 0 if you have the skill points, however. Given that we start with only 5 skill points, you can only go 2 levels of Rampage until you run your first vaults. In order to properly test this out, we need some mobs to try it on, so I've got a zombie spawn egg right here. Also, I've chosen an unenchanted iron sword, as this is likely the best weapon that you'll have during a beginning run of Vault Hunters. Normally, it will take, let's count, 1, 2, 3, 4 hits in order to kill that. In the lower corner, you see the abilities that are available to be selected. The G key is used to trigger the selected ability. You can change the selected ability by pressing the left Alt key and then selecting it from the list. So, with Rampage selected, you see there's an effect in the upper right corner, and now 1, 2, 3 kills that zombie. Not a huge difference for that zombie, but I suspect that in a boss fight especially, this added level of damage and especially at higher levels of this ability will make a very big difference. When it comes to starting a new game and a brand new player, where do I feel Rampage fits into this list? I feel like it's actually beneath Vein Miner. I feel like it's a very good and important skill long term, especially when it comes to battling bosses and vaults. But for the beginning game, I feel like it's not that valuable, at least until you get your first vault under your belt. Moving on around to the next skill, we see Ghost Walk. The player becomes invulnerable and gets a massive speed boost for a short duration of time. Attacking anything during a ghost walk cancels the effect. You get speed boost, duration, and a cooldown, and at level 1, you get 1 speed boost with a 3-second duration and a 2-minute cooldown. Given that we start with 5 unspent skill points, you'll only be able to get 2 levels of Ghost Walk. And after level 2, they have very high level dependencies as well. All right, at level 1, if we trigger the Ghost Walk effect, we get a very interesting effect, and that did not last very long at all. But there was a nice speed boost for that very short period of time. How long was that again? That was 3 seconds. 3 seconds. So where does Ghost Walk feature on my list? Clearly, its use is very situationally dependent, and it's clearly intended for getting away from a situation that puts you in very extreme danger, which is common in the vaults. Dying in the overworld is not that big of a deal because you have graves and you can't really lose your gear. So this skill is clearly intended to be one for use in the vault. Again, because it's clearly intended to be used in the vault, it ranks pretty low on this tier chart for a brand new player. So I'm going to put it over here next to the Rampage. I see these both as very situationally useful, but primarily useful in vaults and primarily at higher levels of skill. Continuing on around the ability chart here, there is Dash. Dash says that you dash in the direction the player is facing. Can also be used in combination with an Elytra. You have a certain amount of dash power and a cooldown in seconds. Given that we have 5 skill points to start with, you can learn the first 4 levels of this if you applied everything right away, and there are no level requirements. All right, so let's trigger dash and okay. We don't have to be moving at all, and it just moves you forward in a direction a few blocks. Let's give this a try with a longer run. All right. Okay, hey, I just jumped over that thing, which is cool. When you hit dash, it moves you forward in the direction that you're facing. If you're facing up, it will give you a small jump boost as well. Or if you're facing horizontally, it'll be purely a horizontal boost. So where does dash feature on the chart? I feel like it's better than Rampage and Ghost Walk because it's more generally useful. The cooldown of 10 seconds isn't that bad, and you can get a small jump boost as well. So I'm going to put it up here next to Vein Miner at the A tier. Continuing around the circle of abilities here, we have Mega Jump. Mega Jump lets you launch yourself high up in the sky. So at level 1, it's 10 blocks, and there's a 20-second cooldown. If we use all 5 skill points that we have initially, you can get 3 levels of Mega Jump, and there are no level requirements all the way up to level 5 of Mega Jump. So let's give it a shot. So pressing the G key gives us a nice tall jump. Ooh, but that's a lot of fall damage. I was afraid of that. So if I'm moving forward and press G, yeah, we can very easily get up to the top of a tree. I like the little Nintendo Mario style sound effect as well. All right, 10 blocks is a high jump. It's a little difficult on the keyboard to press that G button, but it can definitely be done, and you can definitely learn to do it. The fall damage, however, is difficult, is a tough thing to take, especially in the vaults. So where does jump boost range on my tier list? I do think it's more generally useful than these two, which are only situationally useful. So again, I'm going to put it onto this A tier. I don't think it's absolutely critical, and therefore I don't think it qualifies for an S tier item. But I do think it's good. I do feel like as a beginner, it could be extremely useful in certain situations, assuming you don't fall and kill yourself. Continuing on around the circle, we have Tank. Tank says the player gains a massive damage reduction boost by applying stacking resistance. The duration and cooldown scales with the level of the tank. So at first level, 25% resistance for a 30-second duration and a 120-second cooldown. It is an expensive ability compared to many of the others, requiring 2 skill points to learn. So if you put all of your skill points into this, you will only get 2 levels initially. Let's learn it and see how it works. So to test out this ability, I'm going to let this zombie kill me. And we'll see how fast it takes. I've had to test this a couple times already because he kept knocking me back. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hits. Now, if I trigger the tank and let the zombie kill me, how many hits does it take? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we definitely did last longer. 11 hits versus 8 hits. And this ability doesn't actually get all that much more resistance the more advanced you let it get. I feel like this is a big detractor on this skill and definitely puts it lower in my tier list. Okay, so where does this one fit on my tier list? I feel like it definitely does help, and a 25% damage resistance is really good, but a maximum of 30 makes it really hard to justify any extra skill points to it. I'm going to put this down here on the B tier simply because while it is generally useful, I think it's expensive and it doesn't grow nearly as much as I might have expected for the cost. So it's a good thing to have when you can afford it, but I don't know if it's something that we need as a new player right out the gate. All right, next up in the list is Cleanse. Cleanse will clear any negative effects affecting the player. The cooldown is reduced by levels in Cleanse. So it doesn't get more powerful. It just automatically cleanses whatever you need cleansed. But the cooldown decreases as you put more points into it. It is relatively inexpensive with a steady 1 skill point for all levels, and it has no level requirements. All right, this is going to be fun. In order to test this, let's get poisoned. Well, I gotta get hungry first. All right, now I'm hungry. Let's eat some, what does Etho call them? Pupil poppers? And so now, by hitting the G key, it immediately removes the poison effect. Okay, so where does this fit on the tier list? I feel like it needs to be up here on A. I feel like it is generally useful, though not as commonly useful as some of the other Mega Jump and Vein Miner, and it is more useful in the vaults. But it's not only useful in the vaults. No, I'll take that back. I'm going to put it down here on the B level. I feel like it's a skill that is really good to have once you start running the vaults, but it's not something that I feel like you need in order to get started in this world. I feel like in certain situations it would be really useful, like dealing with cave spiders, for instance. But I'm thinking it's down here. The last ability that we can try out is Execute. Execute says the next attack performed within 5 seconds after activating the Execute will deal an amount of damage based on the target's total hit points. Cooldown for Execute is locked at 3 minutes. So the cooldown is 3 minutes all the way across. Level 1, it will do a damage equal to 5% of the total hit points of the creature. Now there are no level requirements for this and the cost is only 1 skill point, but it does get progressively more expensive. So let's learn that and find ourselves a zombie to test it out on. All right, we've got ourselves a zombie right here, and if we look at the upper top, it's got 10 hearts showing. Because there are half hearts, that means it's got 20 hit points. So if we punch it, we do 1 point of damage. Now, if we trigger the Execute is supposed to deal damage based on the number of hit points of the creature. So it shouldn't matter whether I'm using my fist or a sword. And that did 2 hit points. So where does that rank on my tier list? I feel like the 3-minute cooldown is really detrimental, and that makes it much less valuable than even these. I think it goes down here on a C level tier. It's not something that you're going to be able to use very frequently, and when you do use it, 5% doesn't do that much, especially on a zombie. Now, I'm sure when you get into vaults and you deal with bosses and some of the harder monsters that are in vaults, 5% will add up a little bit more quickly. And, of course, as you go up in skill levels, the higher percentages will make a bigger difference. But initially, I don't think it's very important at all. I think this is something you can definitely skip until you've got a few vaults under your belt, would be my guess. So there we have it. The tier list is complete for all of the abilities in Vault Hunter. And as I look at it, my criteria just isn't granular enough. I was looking at the Superb tier as absolutely essential. And well, none of these are, or at least not to get to the first vault. And then this bottom one as terrible and you don't ever want it. And again, none of these are that way. So this needs to be spread out a little bit. I'm going to promote Vein Miner all the way to Superb tier. I think it is super useful and just such a convenience factor. It is just so useful. I think that promotes it up to Superb. I think Execute is the worst of the skills, at least for a beginner player. And so we need to spread these out a little bit more. Tank, Ghost Walk, and Rampage. I'm going to move Ghost Walk down because while it will save your bacon in a dire emergency, it's one of those things that you really shouldn't use all that often. And you shouldn't rely on it at any time. So that leaves Rampage and Tank. I see these as similar, They're things that either help you kill faster or survive more when you need to, and you can use them somewhat frequently. Cleanse, I think Cleanse might actually get a promotion. Yeah, I think Cleanse will get a promotion up here to Mega Jump and Dash. And I think Dash, I don't think Dash is as good as Vein Miner. So I'm gonna leave it down there, but I do think Dash is better than Mega Jump. All right, I think that looks a little better. So basically, as a new player, Vein Miner is a no-brainer in my book. These others are probably good to have, but this tier list only covers abilities. I'm going to do another video talking about all of the talents as well and ranking them in a tier list as well. But this video went a little long and I feel like we need to break it up. So look out for part 2, ranking all the talents, in another video coming shortly. What do you think? Do you agree with the way I've placed these abilities on a tier list? Is there something I'm missing? Some factor that greatly promotes or demotes one of these abilities in your opinion? Please tell me about it in the comments below. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Remember, be excellent to each other, and I'm out.